Hello students, we're into Unit 4, that's exciting, and I want to personally thank Microsoft PowerPoint for providing us with this excellent theme of burnt orange as the bottom bar, and I'll be complementing it with some nice dark blue, which, as I learned in art class in 5th grade, are complementary colors. I'm excited about the colors, and I hope you're excited about the math, so let's move on to the essential question. What are some of the building blocks of graphing equations? So specifically in this chapter, we're going to be graphing linear equations, and we need some of the building blocks. Now I have good news for you. You already have a lot of these building blocks. For example, let's just talk about some really quick things. I want to talk about quadrants and how to graph points. And you know these things already, you've learned them. This guy, this is quadrant 1. In quadrant 1, both the x's are positive, right, because I'm going to the right, and the y's are positive because I'm going up. So remember, x is on this axis, y is on this axis. Since I'm going up and to the right, both x and y are positive. Quadrant 2 is this one. We kind of go in a counterclockwise formation to name the quadrants. Quadrant 2, x is now negative because I'm going to the left. But I'm still going up, so y is positive. Moving right along to quadrant 3, this is the land of mystery because not only am I going to the left, which makes x negative, I'm also going down, which makes y negative. So if you're one of those negative people, you belong in that quadrant. Ha 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 ha. Quadrant 4 is also an interesting one because I'm going to the right, so x is positive, but since I'm going down, y is negative. Okay, so there are the quadrants, and there are some things you need to know about them. Don't forget that to graph a point, like say I do -3, 2, remember that it's always xy, and so I always need to go from the origin over and then up or down. So it's kind of like boarding an elevator. Walk into the elevator, go up the elevator. Okay, this one, it's -3, 2, so over 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2. Yeah, there's my point. So hopefully that's review for you. Okay, moving on. Let's graph y equals 3x minus 2 with domain x greater than or equal to 0. What is the range? Now, you already know how to do this. This is an equation, and you know that in order to graph this equation, you can just simply set up an xy table and find some points. But the issue here is that they're telling me, hey, the domain, remember the domain is all of the x's, that has to be greater than or equal to 0. So I don't want to plug in any x's that are less than 0. So like -2, -1, -100. Those are not in the domain because they're telling me that x has to be bigger than or equal to 0. So since 0 is the smallest thing that works, let's start by plugging that in, and then we can just choose some other ones. I'll just choose 1 and 2. Let's see what the y values are. Remember, when I find the y values, I'm plugging each x into the function where I see the x. So 3 times 0 minus 2 equals -2. 3 times 1 minus 2 equals 1. And 3 times 2 minus 2 equals 4. Awesome, and let's plot these points. First of all, over 0 down 2, that would be right here. Next, over 1 up 1, and finally over 2 up 4. And I have a nice line. Now, usually we're used to doing this, just drawing a line straight through. But remember, they told me here that x has to be greater than or equal to -4. So my line, it cannot go any lower than this 0. It's only getting more to the right of 0, right? X's move left and right. Since I'm saying that x is greater than or equal to 0, my line does not live over here. That's bad. It doesn't live over there. It's not less than 0. It's greater than or equal to 0. So I will draw the arrow, but I'll only draw the arrow for the line going to the right. It can't be smaller than 0. Let's also think about what the range is. If the domain relates to x, which is thinking about how the graph is moving right and left, the range is thinking about the y, which is how the graph is moving up and down. So let's think about this. I can go as far up as I want to go, right? Look at this line. It's going to go forever up and to the right. So it's going to go forever up and up and up and up and up. But it can't go down more than this point. Remember, this point is the stopping point. So what is the range? Well, let's take a look at the y-coordinate of the lowest point. Here, y equals -2. And since the line is going up from there, I'm going to say that the range is y is greater than or equal to -2. Okay? Another way you can think about this, actually, I don't feel like telling you. I'll get it later on. All right, so let's go to the next one. Graph y equals -x minus 1 with domain -1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3. Look at what's happening here. They're telling me that x has to be bigger than -1, but smaller than 3. So when I construct my table, I'm only going to be plugging in values that are between -1 and 3. So let's just do -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. We'll just do all of those. Okay, plugging in -1, -1, minus 1. These two negatives are going to cancel, so I just have 1 minus 1, which is 0. -0 minus 1. There's really no such thing as -0. It's just 0, so 0 minus 1 is -1. -1 minus 1, well, -1 minus 1 is -2. Okay, and we see the pattern here. It's not too bad. I'm wasting time while I write okay, good to go. Here are some points to plot. So, over -1, up 0. Over 0, down 1. Over 1, down 2. Over 2, down 3. Over 3, down 4. Now, does it make sense to draw the line like this? No, it doesn't, because remember, the domain is really restricted here. I'm only caring about the line between the x values of -1 and 3. And look, I plotted those points, -1 and 3. So I'm only going to graph my line between the x of -1 and the x of 3. So this line is actually just right here. And that's it, because I'm only going x -1 to x 3. Now, as with the last one, it's asking me for the range. Remember, the range relates to the y. So let's look at the y coordinates of these two extreme points. This upper one, the y is 0. This bottom one, the y is -4. And if it's freaking you out the way I'm writing it, just note, like, this is the point -1 comma 0. This is the point 3 comma -4. I'm just in particular interested in the y's. Because the line only lives between a y of -4 and 0, I can write my range like this. -4 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 0. And we'll practice doing the range. Just know that if you're thinking about a y in between something, here's how you write it. It's bigger than -4, but it's smaller than 0. Moving on, let's graph the equations x equals 4 and y equals -2. This is kind of weird. These are two separate equations. Here it's telling me that x equals 4 and y could literally be anything. Since y is not in that equation, I only care about the x equals 4 part. So basically, to graph this line, x equals 4, I'm literally just going to name x coordinates that are 4, and my y coordinate could be anything. So for example, here's a point that works. 4, -2. Look, the x is 4. The y, I just picked something random. Yay. This one, need that x to be 4. Y, let's make it 9 because I'm feeling wild today. Let's do one more example. How about 4, 0? Notice the x is always what? 4, Mr. Gregory, 4. The y is what? Anything I want. Okay, let's plot these points. Over 4, down 2, over 4, up 9, over 4, up 0. Notice these points are in a vertical line, and that vertical line is passing through the x of 4. That makes a lot of sense. Let's look at the y of -2. Just with the last one, I can pick any x I want as long as the y is -2. Let's be wild and pick 1.5. because the x can be anything. Let's pick pi, because the y has to be -2, but the x can be anything. And let's pick a simpler one, maybe like 5, for the kids who don't know what pi is. And the y, as always, is -2. Let's plot these points. Over 1.5 down 2, over pi, that's like 3.14-ish, so that's like right here, down 2, over 5, down 2. Hey, look, they're making a horizontal line, and that horizontal line is running right through the y of -2. It makes so much sense. Here's your summary for today. X equals a number, like 4 or like something else, is a vertical line. Vertical, meaning straight up and down. Y equals something, like -2 in the example, is a horizontal line. It's like this. Did you have fun watching? I hope you did. Like, comment, subscribe. Just kidding, I don't care. I hope you took good notes and paid close attention. Students, bye-bye.